Nathan, let's talk about your assignment. I got your outlines, I got your citations. I just don't have your quotes. I remember us talking about it. I didn't know if you emailed it to me differently or if you just hadn't done it yet, but get me those quotes because that's what we're going to be working on. I'm going to show you the video of how to include quotes in your paper today. And then you can go ahead and start writing. So good job. Your outline. I thought you would put more in your outline, but an outline is different for each person to help them get organized. And if you understand your topic well enough to write, say, about gas consumption without having to give yourself 15 points, that's fine. So if you look at gas consumption and you know you're going to be able to write several sentences about that, that's fine. An outline is very personal. I usually have you do the 15-point outline because I feel like that gives you enough points to write about. I have a feeling though that you may know more about this, and this is really just for your organization purposes. So we've got a block by block comparison. So you're going to compare the engines based on these three features, the interior based on these three features, and the exterior and the handling. And then you have your closing or your conclusion. And then you have, so it looks to me like from your outline, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, I missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs, which is fine. You might, if you find you don't have enough information for a good 5 to 7 sentences about each, you might combine. Interior and exterior would be easy to combine. So just think about your organization. It looks like you're organized and you're ready to write. You have your sources. We just don't have your quotes. But I'm going to talk to you about how to let your reader know where you got each piece of information, because you're going to have a works cited page, which you pretty much have. Let me see if I can find that here. You have that ready. And so basically you'll be able to put works cited across the top of this. And you can take that out, I guess. And you're going to center it. You'll double space it. And then you will also put in our special hanging indents. And that didn't give us anything. And I guess you have to do that for each individual source to get that hanging indent in there. And just make sure that you have them in alphabetical order. I'm going to have to check the MLA guide because we don't have any authors in here. But I'm guessing that you'd go in alphabetical order by the magazine. But I will check that, or you can check that online. So you're ready to write. You have all your research done. You have your organization done. And we're going to work on how to cite sources in your text. And the whole purpose of citing sources in your text is so that your reader knows where you're getting information. I mean, it's fine to have that works cited page, but we want the reader to know where you got specific information. Like if you wrote something and somebody said, there is no way that's true, where did you get that from? They'd have to go to all of your sources and read them all. But if you told them which source it was, it would be easy. Here's a website, and you can just do an MLA citation search, but I like this one, and you will be using this in college, so you might want to bookmark it. And it tells you how to do parenthetical in-text citations, and that's different than our works cited page. Our works cited page is just a list of everything we looked at and read to get this essay done. Our in-text citation is where we're going to attribute parts of our essay to a certain source where we got that information. And you can see examples here. Here's one example where they put Johnson, so that's the author's name, and then they put the page number, and that's what you want to do. You want the reader to be able to flip to your works cited page and find Johnson's full source. So you could say, and your source, you could say car and driver said, and then you would, we'll have to see what goes in here. I'll have to look that up. But another way to do that is this point has already been argued, and then put in parentheses Johnson, and this is the page number 12 and 13. Since which we're working with websites, that's a little bit different, and I'm sure it's on here. If you have two authors that are both named Johnson, you have to distinguish between the two, and we usually do that by putting their first initial. And that helps. So if you had two sources by Johnson, your reader couldn't flip and see which Johnson, so you have to let the reader know. So you have to remember everything in the body of your essay has to go with a source, unless it's your own thoughts. Two or more authors, this is what you're going to do. And again, that's the page number, so that ideally your reader could flip to that source, open that book, and find the page where you got that from. Citing sources without an author. So here we go. Some sources do not have authors. Refer to the name of the source in the parenthetical citation. So you could say car and driver said, and if you said like the exterior is larger in a Camaro than I forget what other car you're doing, then at the end you could put car and driver. And you're not going to be able to give them a page number because websites don't have page numbers. And this site shows each of the citations, how to cite them. And so it's a good website. I think it's real straightforward as opposed to looking through the book. I have an old MLA handbook. They're kind of nice to have if you're working at the library or something. So before you go to college, you might want to get one. I think you had to get one for one of my classes. I don't know what year yours is. They update them a little bit, but not too much. So that's what I want you, when you're writing, when you have your quotes, and you know that you attributed something to, and I'm going to be very general and kind of give you examples, attributed to a source, then you have to say where you got that information so that each part of your paper shows where you got it from. And I don't know very much about engines, so it's even hard for me to use my imagination here. So we could say the engine of a Camaro outpowers the new Ford. How about, let's say, the 2014, so we can be specific, Ford Mustang. And let's say you got that from Car and Driver. And your period's going to go after, so that you'll have it. That's all included. Now let's say another way you're going to do it, and this will be the most popular way. Car and Driver states that the engine of a Camaro outpowers a 2014 Ford Mustang. And yikes, I'm trying to think. You already have it right here, and you're not going to have to put it there. There is no page number. But your reader could flip back and find Car and Driver. Let's say you use two sources of Car and Driver, and let's say one of them was from 2013. Here is where you'd want to give that reader that additional information so they can look specifically at your works cited page and go straight to that website or go straight to that page in that document and know where you got that information. Now, when you're just writing your own thoughts, and this is probably your introduction and conclusion will be mostly your own thoughts, as you're making these comparisons, you're going to be doing a lot of citing of where you got your information. So you're going to have to go back and forth. If you wrote several sentences, Car and Driver stated the engine of the Camaro outpowers a 2004 Ford Mustang. You just kind of have to use a little bit of common sense about it. You don't want to fill up every sentence with where you've got it. Furthermore, the 2010 Camaro ranks highest on customer satisfaction. I know I spelled it wrong. I'm hoping that catches me. And so those two sentences were from Car and Driver. And if you're going to do several sentences, it's probably better to put it at the end of the whole set. The period goes after your parentheses. And so you would be contributing several sentences to Car and Driver. If I could type. I can't type apparently. The engine of a Camaro outpowers a 2004 Ford Mustang. Furthermore, the 2010 Camaro ranks highest on customer satisfaction. Car and Driver. And then when we would flip back to your citation page, we would look and we would find Car and Driver. Now I'm looking to see, did you use Car and Driver? Yes, you got Car and Driver, Ford Mustang, Car and Driver. You're going to have to distinguish between these two sources somehow. And if we look, I think you're going to use the article. Here we go. Right here. We're going to have to do something like this. Car and Driver, and in quotes, you're going to have to make sure that when I look at that, I can tell exactly which source you got that from. And that's what your teachers are going to want in college too. And just kind of look through this. It's nice to have a book where we can put page numbers. And here's citing an entire source, which is what you're going to be doing. And, you know, they're using the name. Suggests the internet provider. The internet provides more distractions than it does information. So look at these. This right here is how I think you should do when you have the two Car and Drivers. Let's look back at you. Have Car and Driver. Car and Driver here. Chevrolet Camaro. So see, put this in your parentheses with quotes around it. Car and Driver, Ford Mustang. You don't have to write the whole thing out that's in the parentheses, but you've got to give the reader enough information. And actually, you want to put as little information in those parentheses as you can. So you would put Car and Driver, and then in quotes, 2015 Ford Mustang GT. Or in this instance, Car and Driver, and in your quotes, Chevrolet Camaro. So give as little information as necessary, but as much as needed to point to that specific source. There aren't real hard and fast rules on this, but you've got to remember that if someone wants to question you, you can go right back to that source and let them know where you got that information. And you can look through here. This is what I'll be using if I have a question about any of your sources. Here, follow the same principles of parenthetical citations. Refer to the author if possible. And usually websites don't have pages. Occasionally they do. Citing a source with no authors. Here we have, he has the title of the article. Our website title. Shorten and abbreviate the name of the source, but ensure that your reader can easily identify it in your bibliography. That is really what's key about using citing in text. Shorten it, abbreviate it, but make sure it can be identified. Ideally, when citing online sources, try to reference a source within your sentence with either the author or the title to avoid a parenthetical citation. And what that means is, like we did here, like I did here, where it would say car and driver stated in, let me look at your source here. Chevrolet Camaro car and driver stated. See, you could do that. Chevrolet Camaro car and driver stated. You could put that whole thing, and that would help your reader get back to the right source. Chevrolet Camaro car and driver stated. The engine of a Camaro outpowers the 2000. Then we wouldn't need that. But when someone's reading it, they know where you got your information. If they said there is no way that that engine outpowers a Ford Mustang, you can say, well, I read it in Car and Driver. So the whole purpose of these in-text citations is to point the reader to a work cited on your bibliography page. And this will become more and more important as you're in college and you're doing research and you're making comparisons. So I know you're going to be doing this in freshman English, so go ahead and start working on this, and I will use this site if we have any questions, how to cite parentheticals. You can look, actually I'll just copy and paste that and send that with your, put that in your assignments. I know you know where the citationmachine.net is, and the old citationmachine.net used to give us the in-text citations, and I didn't see it with this one. So that's kind of sad, but I think it's because it can vary so much depending on how you're wording that sentence. But just keep in mind, abbreviate it, shorten as much as possible for the parentheses, but make sure it points to a specific source. And you have several sources. You have Edmunds, you have Car and Driver more than once, you have Edmunds more than once, so you're going to have to make sure you're pointing to that specific Edmunds site. That's all I have for you. Go ahead and get started on the writing. You look like you're ready to write. You have your outline, you have your sources, you've got the hard part done hopefully, and you're ready to write. That's the end of the video.